Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't get applause, it doesn't go viral, and it doesn't look impressive when you're doing it. And that's exactly why most people abandon it, because consistency doesn't give you instant gratification. It gives you quiet, almost invisible progress that compounds over time. But if you study the lives of those who have achieved anything worthwhile, whether it's in business, sports, or personal growth, you'll notice something they all share. They're not just talented. They're not just disciplined. They're consistent. Here's the truth. The brain craves novelty. We're wired to chase what feels new, exciting, and stimulating. That's why starting something is easy. Buying new running shoes is fun. Signing up for a new course feels inspiring. Writing your first page in a journal gives you a little rush. But staying with it, showing up on day 15 when the excitement is gone, that's where most people lose. Consistency is the practice of training yourself to show up when the initial fire is gone, because that's when growth actually starts. Think about it. Nobody builds strength by going to the gym once and lifting until their arms give out. The muscle is built on the 100th rep, on the days when you don't feel like showing up, when nobody is watching. It's the same in every area of life. Your relationships, your career, your mental health, they're not defined by what you do once, but by what you keep doing over and over, even when it's inconvenient. Psychology backs this up. There's something called the compound effect, the principle that small actions, repeated consistently, create exponential results over time. Missing one workout doesn't make you weak, just like eating one salad doesn't make you healthy, but the pattern does. The direction of your choices, the rhythm of your habits, that's what shapes who you become. Consistency rewires your brain. Each time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who can be relied on by others, and more importantly, by yourself. And this is where it gets deep, because consistency isn't just about results. It's about trust. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you quietly teach your brain that your words don't matter. You erode your own confidence, but when you stay consistent, when you wake up and follow through on what you said you'd do, you build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of resilience. You can't trust someone who doesn't keep their word, so how can you expect to trust yourself if you don't keep yours? Let me put it another way. Consistency is proof. Proof to yourself that you're serious. Proof that your vision isn't just a daydream. Proof that you can endure boredom, setbacks, even failure, and still keep moving forward. And momentum is born in that proof. At first, it feels like you're pushing a heavy boulder uphill. Slow, exhausting, almost pointless. But the more consistent you are, the more that boulder starts to roll. One day, you realize the momentum is carrying you. What used to feel impossible becomes second nature. This is why the most successful people you admire don't talk about motivation. They talk about systems. They know motivation comes and goes, but consistency creates momentum that doesn't depend on how you feel in the moment. It's not about being perfect every single day. It's about staying in the game long enough for the results to compound. You'll stumble, you'll miss a day, you'll lose your rhythm, but consistency isn't about never falling. It's about refusing to quit. Philosophically, consistency is a commitment to becoming. It's saying, I may not be who I want to be yet, but I'm willing to show up as if I am. It's choosing to honor the process, even when the outcome isn't visible yet, and that takes humility, because it means you accept that greatness doesn't arrive in an instant. It's sculpted, stroke by stroke, choice by choice, day by day. So when you think about your own life, ask yourself, Where am I looking for shortcuts? Where am I expecting transformation without repetition? Where am I getting frustrated because the results haven't shown up yet, even though I've only just begun? Be honest with yourself. Most of the time, it's not that the path doesn't work. It's that we didn't stay on it long enough to find out. The truth is, consistency doesn't just build momentum. It builds identity. And once you identify as someone who is consistent, who shows up, who follows through, everything changes. Because then the question isn't, will I succeed? The question becomes, how long before the results show up? And that shift in identity, that's where power lies. So remember this, consistency is not about being extraordinary. It's about doing the ordinary so faithfully, so persistently, that it eventually creates something extraordinary. And when you commit to consistency, you're not just building habits, you're building yourself. Stay consistent. Build momentum and watch how far it takes you. Discipline is one of those words that makes people tighten up a little. It feels rigid, like punishment, like something that strips away freedom. But the truth is the opposite. Discipline is not a prison. It's the very thing that sets you free. It gives order to the chaos of life. It creates a structure that protects your goals from being swallowed by distractions, temptations, and the unpredictability of the world around you. Here's the reality we don't like to admit. Motivation is fleeting. Some days you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days you don't even want to get out of bed. If your progress depends on whether or not you feel like it, you're going to stay stuck. Discipline steps in where motivation fails. It's the decision to act not because you feel inspired, but because you've committed. Discipline is what says, this is what I said I'd do, so I'm going to do it, regardless of how I feel right now. And this isn't just about productivity or routines. It's about psychology. Your brain is wired to take the path of least resistance. Left unchecked, it will always look for comfort over challenge, pleasure over effort, distraction over focus. Discipline is the internal mechanism that overrides that wiring. It's the part of you that says no when every impulse wants to say yes. It's the invisible guardrail that keeps you on track when the road curves sharply. Think about soldiers, athletes, or artists at the top of their fields. What sets them apart is not that they're stronger, smarter, or more gifted. It's that they've trained discipline into their daily existence. They don't wait for the mood to strike. They've built habits, rituals, and systems that carry them through when their emotions would rather pull them in another direction. That's why their results look extraordinary, but beneath that, it's really ordinary things done with extraordinary consistency through the power of discipline. Philosophically, discipline is about self-mastery. It's the recognition that if you don't govern yourself, something else will. Your impulses, your environment, the expectations of others. Without discipline, you're at the mercy of whatever feels easiest in the moment. With discipline, you reclaim authority over your own life. You choose long-term growth over short-term comfort. You choose alignment with your values over surrender to your moods. Now, let's be honest, discipline can feel uncomfortable. It means saying no to immediate gratification. It means delaying pleasure, sometimes indefinitely. But here's the paradox. The discomfort of discipline is far lighter than the weight of regret. Every moment you choose discipline, you pay a small price today to avoid a massive debt tomorrow. You sacrifice ease in the present so you can experience freedom in the future. And that freedom, the ability to live on your own terms, to know you're in control of yourself, is worth infinitely more than whatever temporary comfort you gave up. But discipline isn't about perfection. You're human, you'll slip. you'll have days when you fall short. The point of discipline is not to create an unbroken streak. It's to develop a muscle strong enough to pull you back when you drift. Discipline forgives the stumble, but refuses to let you stay down. It reminds you that progress is not destroyed by one mistake. It's destroyed by abandoning the effort entirely. In a world of endless distractions, where your phone alone offers 100 ways to avoid what matters, discipline is rare. And that's why it's so powerful. Most people give in to the chaos. They scroll, they binge, they procrastinate. But the few who practice discipline carve a different path. They build order where others are scattered. They create clarity where others are overwhelmed. They finish what others only start. And here's the deeper layer. Discipline creates dignity. It teaches you that you are capable of keeping promises to yourself, even when it's hard, that you can withstand discomfort without breaking, that you can direct your energy rather than being directed by impulses. This self-respect is priceless. It becomes the core of your confidence because you no longer need external validation. You know within yourself that you can be trusted. So, where does this leave you? Ask yourself, what in your life is being swallowed by chaos right now? Where are you letting impulses steer the ship? Where have you convinced yourself that motivation will someday carry you, when what you really need is discipline? The answer to those questions tells you exactly where your freedom lies. At its core, discipline is not about control, it's about liberation. It's the structure that allows you to thrive, the boundaries that give your potential room to grow. Without it, you stay at the mercy of circumstances. With it, you shape those circumstances into a life of your choosing. So remember this, motivation may spark the fire, but discipline keeps it alive when the winds of life try to blow it out. Choose discipline, and you won't just survive chaos, you'll master it. Mindset is where everything begins. Before you take a single step, before you build a habit, before you commit to discipline, your mind has already decided what's possible and what's not. The way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act ultimately creates the life you live. That means if your mindset is small, limited, or rooted in fear, it doesn't matter how much effort you put in, you'll keep running into the ceiling you've built in your own head. The interesting thing about the mind is that it operates on stories. Every one of us carries a story about who we are and what we're capable of. Some of those stories come from our upbringing, from parents, teachers, or early experiences. Some come from failure. Some come from success. But whatever those stories are, they create filters. They tell us, this is what I can do. This is who I am. This is the kind of life I can have. And if those stories are negative, if they're filled with limitation and doubt, they become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Think about it. If you believe deep down that you're not capable of change, why would you even try? If you believe that discipline is something you weren't born with, then every time you struggle, you'll confirm that belief. But if you shift that mindset even slightly, the whole game changes when you tell yourself, I may not know how yet, but I can learn, or I've failed before, but that doesn't define me. You open up possibilities that didn't exist a moment earlier. Your actions expand to meet your beliefs. Psychology has a term for this, a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset sees talent as something you either have or don't have, intelligence as something set in stone, and failure as proof you're not good enough. A growth mindset sees abilities as skills to be developed, failure as feedback, and challenges as opportunities. Same situation, two very different ways of seeing it. And those ways of seeing it lead to completely different outcomes. Here's where it gets profound. Your brain is constantly looking for evidence to support your beliefs. If you believe you're capable, you'll notice progress, even in small ways, and that reinforces your effort. If you believe you're incapable, you'll notice setbacks, and that reinforces your doubt. In both cases, the belief comes first, and the evidence follows. That's why changing your mindset is not just about positive thinking, it's about rewiring the very foundation of how you interpret reality. And let's not pretend this is easy. Mindset work is uncomfortable because it forces you to confront the voice inside your head that says, "I can't." It forces you to admit that many of your limitations are not imposed by the outside world, but by the boundaries you've drawn within yourself. That's a hard truth, but it's also liberating, because if your mindset created the limitation, then shifting your mindset can remove it. Philosophically, mindset is power because it puts responsibility back in your hands. You can't control everything that happens to you. Life will throw things at you that you didn't plan for and don't deserve, but you can control how you interpret those things, how you respond to them, and what meaning you assign to them. That's where mindset matters most, because the same storm that drowns one person can become the training ground for another. Now combine this with what we've already talked about: consistency and discipline. Consistency gives you momentum. Discipline gives you structure, but mindset gives you direction. It's the compass. Without the right mindset, consistency can feel like drudgery, and discipline can feel like punishment. With the right mindset, they both become tools of empowerment. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "Why not me?" That shift in perspective is often the single most important turning point in a person's life. So here's the question you need to ask yourself: what story are you telling yourself every day? Are you telling yourself that you're too old, too late, too inexperienced, too broken? Or are you telling yourself that every day is another chance to become more, to learn, to rebuild, to grow? Because whichever story you repeat most often will become the reality you live in. When you really think about it, your mindset is your lens. Two people can face the exact same obstacle. One sees a dead end, the other sees a detour. One stops, the other finds another way. The difference isn't in the obstacle, it's in the lens, and the lens is entirely up to you. So remember this: your life will rise or fall to the level of your mindset. If you want to transform your world, you must first transform the way you think about it. And when you choose a mindset that sees growth instead of limitation, opportunities instead of obstacles, possibilities instead of excuses, you give yourself the chance to create a reality that matches that vision. Your mindset is not just a perspective, it's the foundation of everything you will ever build. So guard it, shape it, and most importantly, expand it. Because once your mind shifts, your entire life shifts with it. Up to this point, we've talked about consistency, we've talked about discipline, and we've talked about mindset. Each one on its own is powerful. Consistency builds momentum. Discipline creates structure in chaos. Mindset shapes the lens through which you see reality. But it's when these three converge, when they begin working together, that transformation happens. Real change is never the product of one quality alone. It's the alignment of all three that makes the difference between progress and breakthrough, between